were in a car going down the interstate and got pulled over. And
Who pulled them over?
the police officer, the highway patrol, pulled them over because the old lady and the three friends of the old lady driver were going 35 miles an hour.
Definitely wasn't me driving.
Okay? And she goes, well, why'd you pull me over? Was I doing anything wrong? He goes, well, it's kind of dangerous because you're going 35 miles an hour. She goes, well, that's the speed limit. She thought she was going the speed limit. He goes, no, ma'am. It's I-35 that you're on. It's not 35 miles an hour. He goes, ma'am, I see the other three ladies in the back of your car have this horrified look on their face. Is it because I pulled you over? They scared of me? And she goes, oh no, I just got off of I-95. So, anyways, hold up your Bibles, electronic, whatever it may be, in your heart, and say it and repeat after me. This is my Bible.
This is my Bible.
This is God speaking to me.
This is God speaking to me.
It has everything it says I have.
It has everything it says I have.
Today, God is going to speak to me.
God is going to speak to me.
Amen. Amen. All right. So, on the top of the page, I have my cell phone number. If you notice, it says Brad. It says text. A couple months ago, as you know, I'm in the military. My phone took a kaput, and so this is a new phone, so I only have about 15 numbers programmed into here. If you have a question that comes up during the message, at the end, we'll do a Q&A. We'll see if the Holy Spirit allows it. We'll see. Text me. We'll see how many I can go through. Maybe I can just do one, maybe all of them. We'll see. So if you have a question, text me a question. All right? So the number's there, and I won't call out your name. So if Peggy texts me a question, I won't say, well, Peggy said. I won't do that. I won't do that. But I will promise you this. If I don't get to your question, I will get to it this week, before next Sunday. Okay? So, with that said, of course, we're going to start in Galatians chapter 5. And I'll just read it from my sheet here, and all of you guys have it. So 5, verse 13 through 23, I'm using the NIV. I like the NLT. I like the NLV. I like the Bible. Okay? So, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other. So I say, walk in the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you do not do whatever you want, but you are led by the Spirit. You are not under the law. The acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, orders, and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forgiveness, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. So, those of you who have seen me teach before, I like to tell stories. I'm a story guy. But this is going to be more of a teaching thing. So, if you wanted to hear a story, there will be some stories mixed in, but it's not going to happen so much today. Okay? So Paul lists 9 things. Those 9 things: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. But in this, so I want to point out some things. It says the fruit of the Spirit. Does it say fruits? It says fruit. But we know that the other things, what was the other things that he talked about? Acts of the flesh, that's plural. Fruit is singular. Now, fruit can be more than one fruit: apple, orange, pear, grapefruit. But this is singular. So, I just want you to look at it coming this way, that Paul might be saying here, the characteristics of love, this is the 9 characteristics, but the fruit is love. And how you produce love, or how you see love, is those subcategories underneath that word love. Those are the things that you'll see that happen in love, okay? So, let me go. And the kind of love that he's talking about, oh, I love this thing. The kind of love that he's talking about is the agape love. The choice to relate to someone as valuable. Now, okay, I'm going a little bit these scriptures aren't on your sheet. So in 1 John chapter 4, it says twice in chapter 4 that God is love. Twice in 4. Just in chapter 4 alone. That's interesting to me. So we have agape love, which is Christ's love in us. You know, you're married, or you have a significant other, or a loved one. That's, that love is there for each other. And it's kind of working into that. Pastor Drew and Melissa have an anniversary. They're there for each other. God is always there for us. There isn't you didn't come here under Philios. You didn't want to see me. You came here because you know that God has agape love. Okay? And so, with that, God created us. I'm going off topic again. So God created us. He created each one of us. He created you out of love. All of us are created out of love. So that person next to you is also created out of love. So that person next to you is just as valuable as you are to God. We tracking here? Okay. So what's going on is the gospel of grace, according to Paul, is we are saved because of God's gift, not because something we did, not because of effort. It's given to us freely. But there's a goal when it comes to this grace. And that goal is Christ formed in you. That's the goal. You want Christ to be formed in you of grace. Paul talks about it in Romans 2. That's not on the sheet. Sorry. So, anyways, but we have a problem here. This letter to the Galatians is a letter to Galatia, a region. It's not just to one specific church. Galatia, I'm a history major, so if I give you an area of where it is, it's kind of like where Sweden is, in that area. Southern France, Sweden, almost touches Spain, comes over to Italy a little bit. That's southern region, Galatia. And so there's several churches in Galatia, and Paul is writing to all of these churches. This letter is shared amongst all of them. But there's a problem that happens. So we're saved by grace. We think that Paul started these churches in Galatia. And that's the message. Love, 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 love. We're saved by grace. No effort on our part. You do not need to be under the law anymore. But we have these resilient that came in. And these guys were like, yeah, grace saved us. They come into these churches. And said, but it doesn't provide moral guidance for going forward. For that, you need to look at the law. So basically, Jesus saves, but the law of Moses guides you. This is what this new teaching was coming in. So this letter is written to help correct that. So Paul's response is Jesus saves us from our sin and from the law. We must not return to the law for guidance, but let God's Spirit lead us in the way of love. So, we're going to dive into those verses on the sheet. We're going to go through each one verses. So, what has happened here is you have the conflict in the letter is legalism. Law. But then these guys that come in and say, yeah, Jesus saves, but you need a little balance in your life. Because if you don't, then you have a license to do whatever I want. Jesus saved me. I can do what I want. My sins are forgiven. Maybe I can just keep on sinning. You follow me one extreme to the other. And so this letter is to correct that. And so before we get to chapter 5, Paul is talking about the law. Don't do it. I mean, Paul even talks about the 10 Commandments is the ministry of death. He's saying, we don't need that anymore. The covenant has been fulfilled with Jesus. So what you have here is you have people who are far left and far right. Legalism. We have to follow Moses' law. Or license. I'm saved by grace. I can do what I want. But what Paul is saying, right down the middle, the Holy Spirit will guide you. The Holy Spirit will correct this. We all have been created by God, and the Holy Spirit is inside of us. That conscience that you have will help guide you. In fact, Paul is so adamant about not going to the left or to the right that if you back up one verse in Galatians 12, Paul says, "Hey, you guys who want to follow legalism, yeah, the next time you do a circumcision, I hope you cut it all off." That's what it says. It's in the Bible. Put that on your next greeting card, your Christian greeting card to your friends. I love you, Galatians 5:12. See if they look it up. But that's how adamant he is about grace, about love. So, we're going to go through these verses. You, my brothers and sisters, are called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Now, this word indulge is, when you look it up in the Greek, it refers to a base camp. So, when the military comes in, they take over an area, they clear it out, they set up a base camp, and then they go from operations to do the next base camp so that they can clear out area. In modern times, we call those FOBs, forward operation bases. So what Paul is saying here, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use this freedom to set up a base camp for your flesh, so that your flesh can come back and attack you. That's what he's saying here. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. The next verse, for the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's all he says. He breaks it down so simple. So simple. In fact, we notice that Jesus didn't say that. Because Jesus said, when he was asked, hey, what is the greatest commandment? Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest commandment. And the second one, love your neighbor as yourself. All of the law of the prophets hang on these two commandments. So is Paul going rogue? Is Paul saying, is he skipping the first one? Well, Jesus said something different, right? But we know that Peter said, Peter, pumpkin eater. Peter, above all, other deeply because love covers over a multitude of things. So Peter even says it. Well, John says it too. We know that we have passed from life to death because we love each other. Anyone who does not love remains in death. James, the brother of Jesus, says, well, we'll go back to John, sorry. Whoever claims to love God, John says again, whoever claims to love God and hates his brother and sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. And he has given us this command. Anyone who loves God must also love his brother and sister. So basically John is saying, okay, you say you love God, but if you don't love your brothers and sisters, liar, liar, pants on fire. James, the brother of Jesus. When it says here, royal law, if you really keep the royal law, I think about Dairy Queen because of the royal treats. But if you really keep the royal law found in Scripture, love your neighbor as yourself, you are doing right. Found in Scripture. Well, yeah, it is. In the Old Testament, Leviticus. It's found there. So, are all these guys skipping the first command Jesus gave? Are they? Because Jesus said, love God first. Then love your neighbor. Huh? Is that what's going on here? See, we can do all these things. We can do all this vertical things. We can read our Bible. We can go to church. We can pray. We can meditate. We can listen to iPods or whatever the thing is going on nowadays. We can give offerings. All that stuff is vertical. But what these New Testament guys are saying here is horizontal. And what the Bible is teaching, and what Jesus says to his own disciples, is how you love me is you love each other first. At the Last Supper, Jesus gives one final command to his disciples. See, you've got to understand the context of why Jesus said, love the Lord your God, then love each other. Because he was asked by who? Who was asking him those questions? So for an unbeliever, Jesus was saying, hey, this is how it works. But for believers, Jesus is saying, hey, love one another. I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you are my disciples, if you love one another. Why is that? Why not God first? Why others first? Because you can love God so much. I love God so much that now I can judge you. Yep, I'm so good. And it can lead to things like the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades, because you love God. Jihadists. That's why Jesus is saying, hey, out here. Okay? So, my command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love than no one, than to lay one's life down for God. Is that what it says? Lay one's life down for God. Oh. Why doesn't it say no greater love is to lay one's life down for God? Because it's too easy. It's too easy for me to put a vest on and blow up people in the name of God. No greater love than to lay one's life down for friends. the New Testament guys and girls are grabbing onto something. They're saying, hey, you don't need the law. You don't have right to have license to do whatever you want. But the Spirit will guide you. And love. Love is the answer on this. We do life together. There's a guy that I listen to. His name is Pastor Drew Rainey. Pastor Drew Rainey has this word called usness. Now, I did not ask him for his definition, but I think I'm getting the gist of it. In Christ, loving each other in unity together in community. To love God, we have to love each other. That's how it works. That's how it works. So let's move on to the next verse. So I say to walk by the Spirit. That's the next verse, 16. So it says walk by the Spirit. This word walk, yeah, I think I have a slide for that. This word walk in the Greek means parapateo or parapatetic. Now, this is interesting. I'm a history guy. I told you guys at the beginning, so a history lesson. Peripatetic. Aristotle had peripatetic disciples. That was the name of his disciples, peripatetic disciples. That's the word that's used in the Bible, peripatetic. Now, what's interesting about this is Aristotle didn't like classroom environments. He says, you don't learn life that way. You got a question? Walk with me. Let's do life together. And we'll figure it out together. Peripatetic. Walking with each other. That's what Jesus did. God loved us so much, He sent His only Son to be incarnated as one of us and teach and walk with us. A peripatetic ministry. Okay? So, walk by the Spirit. Then, so it says, so I walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit. And the Spirit, what is contrary to the flesh? They are in conflict with each other. So that you do not do whatever you want. Okay, I had a conflict this week. By the way, if you're in conflict, if you're dealing with things like, God, should I do this? Or God, shouldn't I do this? Oh my goodness, that person is so much a better Christian than I am. Congratulations, that's good. That you're in conflict. That means the Spirit is inside you. Things are working. It's okay. It's okay that you're in conflict. My conflict this week was, I haven't told anybody this, not even my wife. This week, on Thursday, I was given 4 tickets to the Cardinals game, which is going on right now. And I thought, wow, you know, want whatever you want. Well, I want to go. And I think Jesus wants me to go to this. You know, sometimes you insert that, you try to justify it, you know. But I couldn't do that to Pastor Drew. And I thought, wait a minute, I'll ask Pastor Drew to go with me. No. I wasn't being led by the Spirit, but there was a conflict there that said, no. I invited my entire staff to come to church today, and they all said yes, but they all got tickets to the game. So none of them are here. But that's good. It's all right. It's all right. We're working it out, right? We're working it out. So, again, down the middle, not the law, but not the license to do anything. Cindy Lauper has a song. The song is Girls Just Want to Have Fun. The first verse is, I come home in the morning light, and Mother says, when are you going to live your life right? Oh, Mama dear, we're not the fortunate ones. The girls, they just want to have fun. She wants to do what she wants to do. There is a voice of reason in there, but we don't have the license to do whatever we want to do. Because if you do that, you're not following Christ. That's what a Christian is, a Christ follower. But if you're led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. The ladies this morning in the car thought she was under the law, she was doing the right thing, going 35 miles an hour. I spent over 6 years, my family and I, in Germany, and there is no speed limit on the Autobahn. That was cool. So there was no law there. There is, but you understand what I'm saying. So I could go as fast as I want. And did I? I did. But as I'm driving fast, and I look over at my wife, and I look in the rearview mirror at my kids, that love inside me said, hey, slow down. That's what I'm talking about. That's what God does. We're no longer under the law. We want to do what's right because we love John. That's what Paul's talking about. So, verse 19, the acts of the flesh are obvious. Sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery. Paul's saying here, listen, we don't need the 10 Commandments to know that it's not right to kill somebody. We don't need the 10 Commandments to know we shouldn't steal. You know what? Somebody steals from me, oh boy, do I know that it's not right. We've all had that happen. So you just know. Oh, by the way, orgies here? I'm like, oh boy, where's Brad going? Orgies here doesn't necessarily mean sexual orgies. Orgies here in this, when you study it out, actually means purposely going out to get drunk and eat a lot. And whatever happens after that happens. But it's on purpose. Unchristlike purpose. That means you're not following Christ. I want what I want because I want it. Too easy, right? Too easy. So, but the fruit of the Spirit. So, fruit here, I talked about it being singular. So let's do this. Let's interview some fruit. Let's do an interview. Yes, I'm going to be fruity. And I'm a tree. Here's a branch. Let's call this an apple tree. And you say, hey, apple tree, hey, branch. How did you get this fruit? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I felt something pulsating through my branches, and wow, an apple came out. I just stayed connected to the tree, and it just happens. By the way, I see other branches on the ground, but they don't have any apples. I guess there's something about being connected to the tree that has something to do with this. So let's go over characteristics of fruit. Thank you. So, number one, fruit grows on a tree of its kind. An apple tree isn't going to produce oranges. Number two, fruit grows slowly. Now, there are some cases where people have an experience with God, automatically things change. Miracles happen. God has that right to do whatever He pleases. But over time, fruit does grow slowly. Think about it like this. The hands on a clock. If you look at that clock, you don't really see the hands moving. You look away, you look back, the hands have moved. In my own life, last year, I look at myself and I go, oh, I would have reacted differently last year than I would have this year to this situation. I'm growing slowly. And then fruit grows because of a branch's connection. Nothing the branch did. There's no effort the branch had to make. Just staying connected to the tree. This is what Jesus says. This is what Jesus says how this works. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Clean, pruning. Word. How do you get the word? Come to church. Every book you read, every verse you study, every podcast you listen to. You apply it. You separate the wheat from the chaff. It works. You get pruned. You produce more fruit. By the way, Jesus uses grapes here. It's wine country. Hello, you got to use what's there for your illustrations, right? You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me. I will also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. See the theme? Remain, 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 remain. God is good. God is truly good. So there's something about remaining in that. In the vine. I do want to see if anybody has texted me any questions. I'm here for that. Let's see. All right, I got one from my wife. Where are we going to lunch today? Oh, here's one. Christ says we have to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. But that would imply we need to love ourselves first. Good question. Yeah, you do. Again, not too far to the left or to the right. You can say, well, I got to work on my love for myself before I can love other people. Okay. Do you eat? Do you put on a coat if you're cold? Do you turn up the AC if you're hot? Okay, you're loving yourself. But if you say you have to work on yourself, you have to work on loving yourself before you can love anybody else. That's truly a discredit to people who really are having challenges loving themselves. Because you can get so involved in yourself that you never look outward. So, yes, you do have to love yourself. But the whole thing is to love others. Any other questions? Anything? All right. My final thought. So, we talked about wants, your wants, Jesus' wants. I got a quiz. Do you want to be like Jesus? Oh yeah, I'm in church. I'm going to say yes. I don't know if that's a fair question. I don't know if I could say that. So let's rephrase it. Do you want your wants to be like Jesus? Change those wants, change those desires over time as the fruit grows. Then you become more Christ-like. You're in relationship with Him and with each other. Let's pray that. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for helping me change my wants to be your wants. Not because of some rules that I have to follow, but because I want what Jesus wants for me in my life. Thank you, Lord, for being there. In Jesus' name.